Hi, I'm Danica Thurber.
And I'm Tony Thurber.
And we're doing a series on learning to draw.
Today I'm going to be her guinea pig. Student. Yes.
Today we're going to do pencil portraits.
Look at that.
Looks awesome. So we're using a simple technique of first tracing. So you get the correct proportions of all the big shapes and lines. And then we go in with the value scale to basically use this as a paint palette to paint in all the big shapes that we've traced. It's a really simple technique that gives you a lot of bang for your buck. So let's give it a try. So we'll start by drawing 5 squares, and they don't have to be perfect. They shouldn't be perfect, really. This is just the practice part before our drawing.
Are rectangles okay?
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to develop is a value palette of sorts. So just like paint, we have different colors to choose from. Here we have one color, which is the color of the pencil, and we're going to have different values to choose from. So a value is a shade of one color. And so over here, it's going to be the darkest. And here it's going to be so light, it's literally white. So this is no pencil whatsoever. This one right next to it is the lightest pencil you can do. So see how light you can cover that square with your pencil. You're going to use the least amount of pressure you can, while still maintaining contact with paper. Yeah, and I like to keep the same pencil strokes, but you can do it the opposite way on top if you want, but it does make it a little shade darker, so I think that's good for us. So that's the lightest. Here, let's compare that by doing the darkest. Yeah, great job. Nice and dark. So we want to do 2 more shades in between these two. So one's going to be slightly lighter, but still darker. And this one will be even lighter than that. So see how you can make 2 shades in between these 2 colors. This is going to be a light gray, but not as light as this one. And then this one's going to be a dark gray, but not as dark as this one. Yeah, well done. That's really great. So we have 5 shades here, and I like to label them. So this one is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So head on over to the window and bring your reference photo, your paper, and your pencil. Okay, so with your first piece of tape, go ahead and take the reference photo right side up onto the window surface, and then take your drawing paper on top of the reference photo.
Should I try and frame my photo?
Yeah, how you put it on the paper will be how it turns out. So you can put the paper up or down either way. And so you can see the sunlight comes through and makes it more visible. So what you want to do is observe the biggest shapes and trace around them. So for me, I'm tracing around the big hand. And then notice the shadows that are inside the shape as well. You don't have to get every detail, and you shouldn't get every detail at this point, but just see the marks that you see and trace around them. Use a light touch with your pencil as well. That'll help you later on when we're removing some of the guide. You did a great job of finding the most important lines in your building. I think that's really good how you kind of skipped over the details, which are probably hard to see anyways, right?
That's right.
But the most important shapes in here you got entirely. And so now from here, when you're filling out the details, it's going to be super easy to place them because you have the outline or the shape in which they go. So what we're going to do next is fill in the details of these shapes that we created. So for my rose, I've got the big outline of the hand and some smaller sort of marks that show me where the shading goes. So in human hands, especially in curved things as well, there's not as many lines, but I did trace the shape of the shadows. So for here, I've traced, where this gray goes. And so I made that into a shape for itself. And so what I'm going to do is look at my reference photo and compare, okay, which shade matches this gray in here? I think it would be, what do you think? Maybe a 2?
Make it 2 sounds good.
Like
yeah.
2, yeah, maybe on the edge of that. And so I'll use that light kind of shading right here where it corresponds to the picture. And then I see right afterwards that 2 shade. What would you say? Would you say there's even a 3, or does it go right to the 4?
Seems really contrasting with harsh lights, so I would say maybe to a 4.
So I'll go right to the 4 shade right there next. And then, like we identified, the 5 down here. So for you, a good place to start might be in these windows, because you already know that they're going to be dark, or by shading this whole thing entirely with maybe a 4, and then going back in to these darker places and darkening it even more to make it a 5. Does that make sense? So this whole shade.
What about these light
would probably
areas
be a
like
4.
this?
So for places like this, you can either be super careful to not go through the white lines, or you can just shade the entire thing and then use some sort of eraser. I have this one that kind of pops up, or the edge of just a pink eraser. Basically, you just pull that shadow right in there, or the light. So you can go and shade that whole thing without having to be too careful, because you can always take the eraser to it later.
Is it better to go light to dark, or do you go area by area?
I probably usually start with what I know. So I start more with known areas, which here would be places of high contrast. So, the windows and the whitewash wall and the lines that you've already put in. And as you begin to fill the more known areas out, the more gray areas, literally, will start to sort themselves out.
Okay.
Pretty easy way to do this, though, right?
Ask me in 20 minutes.
That's valid. So when I had the rose up to the window, I wasn't able to see the end of this rose petal, and so I just left it blank. But now that, I have it right in front of me, I can actually draw in the more details that I was missing when I had it up to the window. So I see that the petal actually ends at the end, this little point, and so I'll just sketch that in that was missing before, and I see the finger actually continues underneath the petal. So now I can add in the missing information. Oh, you're doing a really great job. Oh my goodness.
Got a good teacher.
Okay, so my skin looks totally scaly. So what you can do is actually minimize the amount of detail in here by just doing generally. Generally, this little patch is going to be about a 4. And this little patch is going to be about a 3. And this, this here is about a 2. And so I'm generalizing and kind of simplifying the textures that I see. How's it going over there?
I think okay. I'm realizing this is a lot of work.
But it's all the same skill, right? You just have to keep going using that same skill.
Yeah.
Doing really well with those dark areas there, babe. What's your secret?
Rage. No, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to be very linear here, then more chaotic in the bottom.
Oh, interesting. What's that?
I think because I'm trying to end the piece here. And then, I don't know, it just seems very linear.
Yeah. Well,
I could be wrong.
Oh, there's no right and wrong here.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive. If we wanted a perfect picture of this building, we'd just use that picture. This is art. So I'll demonstrate the blending stick for my drawing. So these ones you can get at any craft supply store or in a drawing kit. And in the absence of these, if you want to try, you can use a crumpled up paper towel or tissue, even a Q-tip for like a more wide kind of point. So there's lots of ways to do it. You can also use the tip of your finger to blend. But what this does is kind of erase some of the pencil marks, and it smudges the pencil into the paper. So already you can see the difference. Look at that. So it's kind of making a more soft approach. Yeah, and I'm using the wide by doing this, but I can also get really fine and actually do this right on top of the lines here. What do you think?
I'm actually kind of impressed with myself. I didn't think I could do something like that so quickly. I think one of the biggest realizations was that gradient. I think sometimes we can think of the whole image and think, oh, that's kind of daunting. You need to kind of do that whole thing. But I think when you break it down into just simple components, it makes it go a lot better. And it might look not great at first, but I think as you keep going, that was the other thing I realized is like, oh, once I finish this area, okay, well, I can do this, maybe it'll look better. And it just keeps looking better and better, and then it really comes together at the end.
All right, high five.
High five.
Woo,
Oh,
good
you're such a
job.
good teacher.